Let's start with a warm-up question. Calculate the final amount in an investment account if you started with $10,000 and invested it for 12 years at 2.1% per annum. Pause the video and have a go. Okay, so principal is $10,000. Our number of years is 12 and it's 2.1% per annum. So let's write down the information now. We have principal 10,000. Our interest rate is 2.1%. We divide that by 100, so we get 0.021, and our N is 12. Write our formula. I equals PIN. Substitute our information. 10,000 multiplied by 0.021 multiplied by 12, and go to your calculator. And we get 2,520. So therefore our final amount is our principal plus our interest, which is 10,000 plus that 2,520. So that is $12,520, and finish with the therefore statement. Therefore, the final amount is $12,520. Now, what you're doing in this lesson is looking at simple interest with unknown variables. So instead of finding our interest, we might be working at our principal or our interest rate or our number of years. So we're solving for unknowns. We're going to calculate, identify, and solve, and hopefully correctly answer the set questions. Now let's start with one that I will do. Again, the formula is at the top. It's on your formula sheet, but hopefully you've remembered it. Question is, Anthony invested $1,000 at simple interest rate of 4.6% per annum. Determine how long he must invest the money in order to earn $100 in interest. So let's write down what we have. Our principal is $1,000. Our interest rate is 4.6%, which we divide by 100, 0.046. We don't know our N, but we do know that our interest is $100. So write our formula, I equals PIN. Substitute in what we know. 100 is 1,000 multiplied by 0.046 multiplied by N. So 100 is on the right hand side. If you multiply 0.046 by 1,000, you get 46. So you've got 100 equals 46N. To get that N on its own, it's being multiplied by 46. So we do the opposite and we divide both sides by 46. So our N is 100 divided by 46, which is approximately 2.17 years. Now, if we're only earning interest per year, you would need to round up to 3 years. Okay, because you're not going to have enough money at 2 years. You're going to have to go for 3. So therefore, Anthony would need to invest the money for 3 years. Now, if you could go to months, you could go 0.17 times by 12 is 2.04 months. So your other option is to say 2 years, and again you need to round up, and 3 months, or 27 months. Okay, Luca borrowed $24,000 at a rate of 12.5% per annum for a new car. If he paid $11,525 in interest, determine the term of his loan. Now I want you to pause the video and have a go yourself. Okay, let's highlight. Borrowed $24,000, interest rate 12.5% per annum. He paid $11,525 in interest, and we want the term of his loan. So let's put that down. P is 24,000. Our I is 12.5%, which we need to divide by 100, which is 0.125. Our N we don't know, and our interest rate is $11,525. Write our formula, I equals PIN. Substitute what we have, 11,525 equals 24,000. Multiplied by 0.125, multiplied by N. 24,000 times 0.125 is 3,000. So you have 3,000 N. To get that N on its own, it's being multiplied by 3,000. So we do the opposite and we divide both sides by 3,000. So 11,525 divided by 3,000 gives us approximately 3.84 years. Okay, if we were going to years, because it is per annum, we'd have to round up to 4 years. Now, if we could go to the nearest month, it would be 0.84 times by 12 to get that decimal into months, and that is 10.08 months. So we could go 3 years and 11 months. Again, we still need to round up. Otherwise, we won't have the full amount. Now let's look at the next question. Charlie borrowed $6,000 for 15 months. At the end of the loan, his total repayments were $6,800. Determine the interest rate. So he borrowed $6,000, so that's our principal. It was for 15 months. So our N is 15 divided by 12 because we need it in years. So that's 1.25. And his total repayments were $6,800. So that's our A value. Now we don't have I, and we also don't have our interest rate. So let's start with our amount. We know our amount is our principal plus our interest. So 6,800 equals 6,000 plus our interest. So you should see the interest is $800. But anyway, minus 6,000 from each side. Your interest is $800. So now we can move to our interest formula, which is PIN. We know our interest is 800. We know our principal is 6,000. We don't know what our interest rate is, but our N is 1.25. So let's multiply our 6,000 by 1.25, and we get 7,500 I. Now, that I is being multiplied by 7,500, so we're going to divide both sides by 7,500 to get our I on its own. So 800 divided by 7,500 is approximately 0.1066, or sorry, round up, 0.7. Now we need to multiply that by 100 to get it as a percentage. So I is approximately 10.67%. So therefore, interest rate is approximately 10.67%. And should put PA for per annum. So looking at the next one, Sammy invested $1,600 for 2 years. At the end of the investment, she had $2,000 in her account. Determine the interest rate. Now this is a similar problem, so I want you to pause the video and have a go at it yourself. Okay, so let's pull out the information. She invested $1,600. So our principal is $1,600. That was for 2 years. So our N equals 2. At the end of the investment, she had $2,000 in her account. So that represents our total amount. We need to find our interest rate, and we don't know what the interest is. So again, our A equals P plus I. Substitute the information we know. 2,000 equals 1,600 plus I. We're going to get I on its own, so we're going to subtract 1,600 from both sides. So 400 equals I, or I equals $400. Go to our interest formula, I equals PIN. Substitute in what we have, 400 equals 1,600 multiplied by my interest rate multiplied by a number of years, which is 2. Multiply the 1,600 by 2, so we have 400 equals 3,200 I. Need to get that I on its own, so it's being multiplied by 3,200. So we do the opposite, we divide by 3,200. 400 divided by 3,200 is 0.125. Multiply that by 100 to get it as a percentage rate. Okay, so that's 12.5%. And finish with the therefore statement. Therefore, interest rate is 12.5% per annum. Now I'll do another one. Matilda invested some money at a simple interest rate of 4.6% per annum for 3 years. If she earns $240 in interest, determine how much money she invested. So let's write the information down. Our interest rate is 4.6%. Divide it by 100, you get 0.046. Our N is 3. Our capital I is 240. That a bit better. And we don't know our principal. So our formula, I equals PIN. 240 equals our principal multiplied by 0.046 multiplied by 3. Multiply our interest by our number of years. And we get 0.138. So 240 equals 0.138p. They're being multiplied, so to get p on its own, I divide by 0.138, and I have to do the same to the other side. So they've gone. So we're left with p, 240 divided by 0.138 is approximately 1739.13. Finish with the therefore statement. Therefore, Matilda invested approximately $1,739.13. Now pause the video and have a go at number 2. Okay, so in order to pay for a new car, Haley's borrowed. It's an interesting name, probably was meant to be Haley, but anyway, Haley's borrowed some money at a rate of 12.5% per annum. She paid $1,500 in interest over 5 years. Determine the cost of the car. So let's write down what we've got. Our interest rate was 12.5%. We need to divide that by 100. So that's 0.125. Our capital I, where that interest is 15,000. Our N is 5. We want the cost of the car, so that's our principal, which we don't know. So let's write our formula. I equals PIN, substitute in what we know, 15,000 equals our principal multiplied by our interest rate multiplied by our number of years. Can multiply our interest by the number of years. So we've got 15,000 equals 0.625 multiplied by P. To get P on its own, we divide both sides by that 0.625. So our P is 15,000 divided by 0.625 is $24,000. Finish with a therefore statement. Therefore, Haley's car cost $24,000. So now it's time to practice. Here are some for you to do. The answers are off to the side. Make sure you set your answers up like I have, full working out. Okay, no shortcuts.